The smell of garlic fills the kitchen. I'm plating orders, humming to myself, another sold-out Saturday. For a few minutes, life actually feels good. Then my phone buzzes. Family group chat. Wedding weekend. My brother Leo's wedding. I wasn't even invited. My first thought? Maybe it's a mistake. My second? Please don't let it be what I think it is. I wipe my hands on my apron and open the chat. Mom. Please don't invite Maya. Her cooking business will steal attention from Leo and Emma. Aunt Rosa. She always makes everything about herself. Let her stay busy in her kitchen. The message blinks back at me. Innocent little words holding years of rejection. The sizzling pan goes quiet. My chest feels tight, like someone turned down the oxygen. That's how I found out. Not with a phone call, not with honesty. Just a typo in a group chat I was never meant to see. I stare at the screen, half expecting someone to say it was a joke. They don't. Instead, more messages roll in. Seating plans, song lists, menu choices. All for a wedding I'm not part of. I look down at the catering form on my counter. Holloway Gardens. The same venue, the same date. The universe has a dark sense of humor. I could delete the messages, pretend I never saw them. But something in me, something tired of being cropped out of every family photo, won't let me. If they don't want me at the table, maybe it's time I cook my own. Knife hits the cutting board once, sharp, final, fade to black. When I was a kid, my mom had this hallway lined with framed photos. Vacations, birthdays, holidays. Perfect little frozen moments of family. Except if you looked close enough, you'd notice something missing. Me. Sometimes I was cropped out, sometimes just not there. Once I asked her why. She said, "You were always busy doing your own thing, Maya." My own thing was usually cleaning up after everyone. I think that's when I learned the quiet art of disappearing. In every family story, Leo was the golden one. The soccer captain, the business degree, the one who made us proud. Me? The girl who quit college to cook. Even now, I can still hear my mom's voice. Cooking is a hobby, sweetheart, not a life. So when I opened my little restaurant, the one I built from scratch with secondhand pans and sleepless nights, I didn't expect applause. But I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd show up. They didn't. Not for the opening. Not for the anniversary, not once. The one time my dad stopped by, he ordered a burger, looked around and said, "It's nice, Maya. You ever think about getting a real job?" That sentence stuck to my ribs like grease that won't wash off. So yeah, when I saw that wedding message, it wasn't shock I felt. It was confirmation. Proof of what I'd known all along. I'd never been part of their picture. But here's the thing about being invisible. Once you stop trying to fit into someone else's frame, you start seeing your own story differently. That catering form from Holloway Gardens, it's still sitting on my counter. Same venue, same weekend. Maybe this isn't a coincidence. Maybe this is my chance to change the story. Beat of silence. A timer dings softly in the background. I take off my apron, stare at the ink on that order form, and feel something I haven't in a long time. Fire.
I had 14 days. 14 days to turn an empty, dust-covered cafe into a place people actually wanted to eat in. 14 days to prove I wasn't a mistake in that family chat. The first morning, I unlocked the door to Romano's old cafe and nearly turned back around. It smelled like stale espresso and forgotten dreams. The walls were cracked, the fridge rattled like it had a cough, and the open sign was hanging by one screw, tilted, just like my confidence. Still, I stood there and said it out loud. This is mine now. Not yet, maybe, but soon. I sold my old camera, 2 vintage pans, and half my sanity to scrape together enough money for paint, cleaning supplies, and a second-hand stove from Craigslist. Priya, my sous chef, my best friend, and the only person who's seen me cry over both onions and rent, showed up every morning with coffee and fire in her eyes. "You realize we're broke and delusional, right?" she said. I nodded. Yeah, but I've been both before. This time at least we're cooking. We painted until midnight, scrubbed grease until our arms ached, and begged the city inspector for one more extension. Every night I'd fall asleep on the floor, my head on a flour sack, and dream about my mom's voice saying, cooking isn't a life. Every morning, I'd wake up just to prove her wrong. We built the menu from memories, dishes that meant something. The lemon risotto my grandmother used to make before she stopped visiting. The empanadas my dad once called too spicy. And a new one, the family meal. A plate meant for sharing, because I'd stopped waiting for someone to make room for me. The first test run was chaos. A fryer exploded. The mixer quit halfway through the dough, and the lights flickered like they were laughing at me. Priya looked at me through a cloud of flour and said, "You think it's a sign?" "Yeah," I said, wiping sweat from my face. "That we're doing something that actually matters." We didn't have sponsors or savings. We had borrowed knives, secondhand dreams, and a stubborn belief that food could be more than survival. It could be freedom. By day 13, the cafe looked alive again. New paint, warm light, and the smell of roasted garlic drifting onto the street. But that night, an email arrived that nearly undid me. Subject: health inspection. Date change. They'd moved it up. Tomorrow morning. The hood system still wasn't certified. If I failed, the deal was dead. And so was my shot. I closed my laptop, stared into the dark kitchen, and whispered the same words I did before every big moment in my life. Don't burn this one, Maya. The morning of the inspection, I was running on caffeine and panic. My hands were shaking so bad I nearly dropped the thermometer into the fryer. Priya kept saying, "Breathe." But every breath felt like it came with a price tag. If the cafe failed today, it was over. No license, no launch, no dream. And then, my phone rang. Mom. For a second, I thought about ignoring it. But curiosity is a cruel habit. I answered. "Hi, Mom." Her voice was calm, too calm. "Your brother's wedding rehearsal is next weekend. Please don't plan any distractions." I froze. Distractions? You know exactly what I mean. Opening that little restaurant right before his big day. It's selfish, Maya. Selfish. That word again. They've used it so many times, it's practically my middle name. I wanted to scream. Tell her that every sacrifice, every late night, every burned fingertip was because I didn't want to disappoint her. But instead, I said nothing. She continued, "Leo's nervous enough already. Please, for once, don't make this about you." There it was. The old family script, written, directed, and produced by Guilt. I glanced at the clock. 9:27 a.m. The inspector was due any minute. And here I was being told to sit quietly while my brother married into perfection. "Mom," I said, my voice trembling but steady enough to mean it. "I love Leo, but I'm not sitting out my own life so someone else can feel bigger." "Excuse me?" "For once," I said, "this is about me." I hung up. Right then, the door swung open. A man in a city badge and clipboard stepped inside. "Health inspection?" he said. Priya froze mid-stir. I smiled like someone who totally had their life together. "Of course," I said. "Welcome to Maya's kitchen." For the next hour, I moved like I'd done this 1,000 times. Every shelf wiped, every label facing forward, every thermometer reading perfect. I was sweating through my apron, but I didn't care. When he finally turned to me, flipping through his notes, he said, "You've got yourself a clean start, Miss Ortiz." I exhaled so hard I nearly cried. After he left, I collapsed onto the counter. Priya grinned. "You did it." I nodded, breathless. And then my phone buzzed again. This time, it was Leo. A text. "If you open that weekend, Mom says you're choosing your restaurant over your family." I stared at the message until the words blurred. Then I typed back, "Good, it's about time I did." The next morning, I woke up to my phone buzzing like it was alive. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe a spam call, maybe a wrong number. Then Priya screamed from the kitchen, "Maya, check your phone, now!" I opened it. Taste and Tell had posted our candlelight dinner video. Caption, "Power out, full heart, the restaurant that refused to quit." 500,000 views, then 1,000,000, then 3. Within hours, we had messages from food critics, influencers, even a local TV station. The phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reservations for the entire month, gone, sold out. I just stood there staring at the screen. The restaurant that was supposed to fail had become the one everyone wanted to see. That's when the second buzz came. Mom. I didn't answer at first, but then she texted, "Congratulations. Your father and I saw the video. Could you cater Leo's rehearsal dinner next weekend?" I laughed, out loud. For the first time in days, maybe years, the same people who uninvited me now wanted me to serve them. Priya looked at me, eyebrows raised. "Are you actually going to do it?" I thought about it, long and hard. Part of me wanted to say no, to block their number and move on with my full reservation list and my freedom. But the other part, the chef, the daughter who once just wanted to be seen, whispered something else. "Yeah," I said finally, "but on my terms." So I agreed to cater the dinner. No secret entrance, no back kitchen. If they wanted my food, they'd have to look me in the eye when they ate it. The night of the event, I walked into Holloway Gardens, the same venue where I was never meant to step foot. It was surreal. The marble floors, the soft lights, the laughter echoing down the hallway, all the things I used to dream about being part of. But this time, I wasn't a guest. I was the one feeding them. And for the first time, that felt like power, not punishment. When I brought out the first plate, I saw Mom's eyes widen. She whispered something to my dad, who just nodded quietly. And then Leo, my brother, the groom, stood up. He smiled at me, awkward but genuine. "Maya," he said, "this is incredible. You really made it, huh?" I smiled back. "I've always been making it, Leo. You just never looked." The room went quiet for a moment, and in that silence, something finally shifted. Not forgiveness, not yet, but recognition. That was enough. A week after the rehearsal dinner, the city's food and art festival invited me to speak. "Tell your story," they said. "How you turned failure into fire." I almost said no, but something inside me, maybe the part that's done hiding, said yes. The day of the event, the auditorium was packed. Chefs, creators, small business owners, students, people who knew exactly what it meant to be underestimated. I stood backstage, clutching my note cards, and realized I didn't need them. Not this time. When they called my name, the lights hit me like sunrise after a long storm. For a heartbeat, I froze. And then I spoke. I used to think success meant being invited somewhere, a seat at the table, a nod of approval, a family photo where no one cropped you out. A ripple of laughter. But quiet. The kind of quiet that listens. I built this restaurant because I was tired of waiting for permission to be proud of myself. I built it because I got tired of asking for a spotlight that was never meant for me. I looked out into the crowd, and for a moment I saw my mother in the front row. Not in reality, but in memory. She once told me to think about someone besides myself. So I did. I thought about every person who's ever been told they're too much, too loud, too ambitious, too emotional, and I built a place for them. The audience was silent now, that heavy, sacred silence before applause. I learned that when people tell you you're selfish for chasing your dream, what they're really saying is, "Stop reminding me what courage looks like." A pause. My chest felt like it might break open from the truth of it. I used to want them to see me. Now I just want to see myself clearly, because once you do that, you can finally build something real. The applause was deafening, but in the middle of it I felt something quieter. Peace. Afterward, people came up to me, some crying, some just saying thank you. One woman whispered, "You said everything I never could." Later that night, I walked back to my cafe, the candles still glowing in the windows, the same warmth that started it all. Priya was wiping down tables. She looked up and grinned. "How'd it go?" I smiled. "It wasn't a speech," I said. "It was a beginning. 6 months later. The cafe doesn't feel new anymore. It feels alive. The air smells like rosemary and espresso. The walls hum with conversation. Every table tells a story. A first date, a job interview, an old couple sharing dessert without talking. Just smiling. And me? I finally stopped watching the door, waiting for my parents to walk in. Because the truth is, they did. Once. Quietly. No cameras, no entourage. Just two people who didn't know how to say we were wrong. They sat in the corner table, ordered the soup, didn't finish it. When they left, my mom slipped a folded napkin onto the counter. 2 words. We're proud. No signature, no apology. But somehow, it was enough. After they left, I stood there for a long time. I thought about every version of myself that got me here. The girl crying over ruined photos, the woman begging to be invited, the chef lighting candles in the dark. All of them deserved this peace. Priya walked up beside me and said, "You know what's wild? You didn't change. You just stopped shrinking." She was right. Now, on most mornings, I unlock the cafe before sunrise. The city's still half asleep. I brew the first pot of coffee and watch the light creep through the windows. That's when I write. Not for press releases, not for posts, just for me. Recipes, memories, scraps of things I never said out loud. Last week, a publisher reached out. They want me to write a book. Not a cookbook. A memoir. I told them I'd think about it. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that your story doesn't end when people finally clap. It ends when you decide you don't need the noise to feel real. Tonight, after closing, I stepped outside and looked at the sign glowing above the door. It used to scare me, that word, open. Now it just feels right. Open to new faces, open to mistakes, open to life after the storm. Because sometimes, you don't rebuild to prove them wrong. You rebuild to remember who you were before they made you doubt it. It's a quiet evening, the kind where the city hums low and the cafe feels like a heartbeat. I'm closing up, last cup rinsed, last chair turned upside down, when the bell over the door rings. A girl steps in, maybe 21, maybe 22, camera bag slung over her shoulder, fingers trembling like she's holding something heavier than it looks. "Sorry," she says. "I know you're closing, I needed to see this place." I smile. "You found it. Come in." She walks up to the counter, eyes wide, scanning the walls like she's looking for proof that dreams are real. "I'm starting a studio," she says. "My parents think it's stupid. They said I'll regret it by 30. Her voice cracks a little, and suddenly I see it. The old me. The one who thought being brave meant waiting for permission. I pour her the last of the coffee pot and slide it across the counter. "Tell me about your studio." She talks fast, about light and angles, and stories she wants to tell. Her words stumble over each other, but her eyes burn bright. When she finishes, she looks down. "I don't even know why I told you all that. You get it, don't you?" I nod. "More than you know." Then I write something on a napkin, just like the one my mom left me. But this time, it's 3 words. Don't ask. Build. I hand it to her. Whatever you want to do, start now. Not when they believe in you. When you do. She smiles, tucks the napkin into her bag, and says, "Maybe one day I'll take your picture." I laugh. "Make sure it's in good light." When she leaves, the bell rings again. Soft, like a whisper. I watch her disappear into the street, camera swinging, heart wide open. And I realize something I've never said out loud. My story stopped being about proving them wrong a long time ago. Now it's about helping others see that they never needed to ask either.